Selamat datang di Pulau Cocos Keeling. Welcome to Cocos Keeling Island.
Welcome to paradise!
Welcome to paradise.
Welcome to paradise!
The Cocos Keeling Islands have been home to many a castaway over the years. Who wouldn't want to live in a picture postcard tropical paradise? Our destination is Home Island, home to the beautiful Cocos Malay people who were brought here to work on the copra plantation set up by Scotsman John Clunies Ross back in 1825. Take a look at this sign. A ferry ride to Home Island is a bit like taking a day trip to another country. Malay is the first language here on an island ready to be explored, and first stop is at the end of this magnificent avenue of trees and perched on the edge of the southernmost tip of the island. Oceania is the colonial mansion that housed the Clunies Ross dynasty for almost 100 years. It's now home to Avril and Lloyd, passionate historians and collectors who filled its rooms with beautiful antiques as they worked to restore it to its former glory. So Avril, how did you end up with the Clunies Ross house?
Well, we were having breakfast one Sunday and Lloyd opened the Sunday Times and there was a story about this house being for sale, and lo and behold, within a week, Lloyd had bought it sight unseen, and here we are.
And the duo now share their island retreat with visitors, Avril running tours and turning the home into a B&B.
Well, we would give our eye teeth to come and see a place like this if we were on holidays, because it's just so extraordinary. And eventually I managed to persuade Lloyd that other people should have that chance too.
Avril also makes sure no one leaves the island without meeting this man, Pak Haj, the Cocos Malay with a broad Aussie accent who runs the Home Island Cultural Tour. When they had the Copra production here, when it was in full swing, how many people lived on the island?
It used to be 500, but now the population just dropped up to 200 to 300 plus.
There are a lot of stories from the island as we zip around. Places to see. This is the final resting place of the people who helped to build the Clunies-Ross dynasty, and things to do. Haj here will not let you just sit and watch. You have to get up and you have to do. Although what I'm doing with this coconut palm leaf at the moment is highly debatable. Skill challenge number 2 comes at afternoon tea time. Drinks come in recyclable containers. We could die of dehydration here. If you want to really get a taste for Home Island, you can book for Oceana's House and the Cultural Tour at the Visitor Centre.
Virgin fly to the Cocos Keeling Islands from Perth twice a week, and it's our secret island paradise that too few of us West Aussies have discovered for ourselves. The islands sit atop 2 stunning coral atolls in the middle of the Indian Ocean, closer to Indonesia and the Maldives than Australia. There's actually 27 islands here, and there's only 14 square kilometres of land in total. The islands have got an amazing history since they were first sighted by William Keeling back in 1609. And you can learn so much in the museum found on Home Island, one of only 2 that are inhabited in the archipelago. Back then, Keeling described them as uninhabited, and it was another 217 years before they were settled in 1826 by an English adventurer, Alexander Hare. It's said he brought his harem of 40 Malay women with him and started a coconut plantation for the copra. But it was a year later when Scotsman John Clunies-Ross arrived, and the commercial nature of the plantations was improved significantly, and eventually Hare left. It was 1838 that Charles Darwin sailed in around the archipelago on the Beagle, and he recorded life on the coral reef all through the atolls, and it was a very, very important part of his scientific research. 19 years later, the British government took control of the islands, and they appointed the then governor of Ceylon, which is now, of course, Sri Lanka, the head of the islands. Later, the Crown granted ownership to the Clunies-Ross family, and they held it until relinquishing authority over the islands formally to Australia in 1978. It is now part of the Indian Ocean Territories of Australia, along with Christmas Island to the north, and managed by an administrator. Now, one of the things you've got to do is take the cruise over and get yourself to Home Island. Now, once a week they have a twilight market, and you realise just how rich the Malay culture is here. It is just incredible. It's like being in Malaysia, in a village, enjoying authentic cuisine that just smells amazing. The flavours, the colours, the atmosphere, it's brilliant. It's very easy to slip into Cocos time. Now, Siri, all over here, there's amazing Cocos Malay cuisine. But what have we got going on here?
Yeah, this is the chicken side. This is a family recipe, this one here.
Okay, and it's so much a family recipe. You got your husband doing the cooking, right?
That's right.
How
yep.
good's that? So what have we got? We put lemongrass over the top
Yeah,
of it.
so they cook over charcoal,
Yeah.
and they just baste it with lemongrass so that it's all nice and moist and not dry.
Okay,
So, yeah.
can we try some?
Yeah, you
All
can
right.
have this one.
All right, are you going to try it too?
Of course I am.
Oh,
I don't
no,
say
go.
no to fruit. See? Yeah.
No. Oh my God. It's so good. He's talented. You picked up a good one there.
Yeah, that's it.
No comment. After eating, take a walk and soak up the colours, the sights, the sounds, and meet the locals. They're extremely friendly. There's approximately 600 people live on the islands and only 30 cars, so bicycles and leisurely walks are a way of life. Hey guys, look, the bouncy castle's gone down. Now, for the 440,000 West Aussies that went to Bali last year and didn't come to the Cocos Islands, you're crazy. This place is paradise on earth. Come on, get over here, check it out for yourself.
A 4.5-hour flight northwest of Perth is Australia's Cocos Keeling Islands, 27 islands dotted around the edge of an ancient volcano. This is our own tropical getaway and so much more. When Charles Darwin landed on the Cocos Keeling Islands, he described the beaches here as being hypnotic and heavenly. And 180 years on, one of them, Cozzie's, has just been voted Australia's best beach. And the island that Cozzie's is on, Direction Island, is also the home to Australia's first naval victory. This is a destination WA must-see. Getting to Cozzie's is via the twice-weekly ferry ride, and it's an adventure in itself, crossing the lagoon from West Island to Direction Island. It takes 60 minutes and costs the princely sum of $2.50. Just look at the colour of the water around this island. It is picture postcard perfect. And the island itself? Anyone say treasure? And how about all this? This is the growing collection of memorabilia left by all the yachties that anchor here. And talking about sailors, this was the site of Australia's first naval victory, when the communication station here was attacked by the German ship the Emden during World War I. The officers managed to get a message to the HMAS Sydney that just happened to be passing by. They came to the raid, sank the Emden, all while the German raiding party who'd made it to the shore sat here and played cards with our guys. And the complete story is all yours to discover on the island's Heritage Trail. It's an easy walk around the island with plenty to read along the way. There's no physical structures left, although there are some communication cables just off the beach. The trail was officially opened in 2014 by the Governor-General, Sir Peter Cosgrove, who agreed to share his moniker with the now world-famous Cozzie's Beach. Swim, anyone? It's easy to see why Cozzie's beat more than 11,000 other beaches from around the nation to be crowned the best of the best. Once you venture into the water, it gets even better. Make sure you pack your mask and snorkel, because paradise isn't limited to above the water at this beach. This is the world-famous Rip. It is snorkeling heaven. If you can't bear to leave, you can actually camp on Direction Island for free. Imagine waking up to this every morning. There's facilities, there's barbecues, shelters, hammocks, or for a $2.50 ferry ride. There's even Wi-Fi. So if you want to brag, and who wouldn't, Instagram away.
Come, explore West Australia's hidden gem, the Cocos Keeling Islands.
There are so many ways to get around the Cocos Keeling Islands. You could go by ferry, simple. If you've got a lot of energy and a spare 6 hours, you can actually walk around this entire coral atoll at low tide. You could paddle, still a bit too much energy, or you could go on a motorised canoe tour. My thoughts, exactly. Like many activities on the islands, the time this tour starts is dependent on the tides. What we're going to see? Well, that's dependent on the time of the day and the tides as well. So these adventures are just that. You never know exactly where you're going to end up, but tour owners and operators Kylie and Ash guarantee you'll have one heck of a lot of fun getting there. The canoes motor around the south end of the atoll where the water is fairly shallow, stopping along at a number of the 27 islands that make up the Cocos Keelings. First stop is breakfast. Glad to see they have their priorities right, and the tour numbers suddenly explode.
They're hiding out in the bushes and under the pondock, and when the food comes out, they've got an intent to smell, so they'll come and join us for breakfast.
And once everyone's had a feed, the crabs and Ash like to have a bit of fun. Pick your crab carefully, size counts in this race.
Okay, holiday makers, you are so lucky you're here for the 2017 running of the Cocos Cup. Racing on Cocos, they're off to a pretty good start. The big fella's going straight for the line. They're all over the track. It's anyone's race at this stage of the game. This is close to a race record. You have won a trip overseas.
So it's back into the warm waters of the Southern Lagoon for some more exploring. This atoll hasn't always been idyllic. In World War II, they were bombed on an almost weekly basis as they served as a strategic communications post for the Allies. Mind you, the further into our adventure we get, the more you start thinking they could have used Ash's dad jokes to fend off hostile attacks.
Okay, so as I say, 13.62 metres. It's a good thing we're here in the afternoon because all the ice caps have melted from the top of Cocos.
And Ash keeps up his running commentary, although it does take a serious turn.
So 1942, when our guys were stationed here, they had no cabbage bush, they had no coconut trees here, they had a clear 360-degree view of the islands. So if they saw an enemy ship coming, they'd hoist the flag up, they'd get the cannons ready for any intruders.
Today, only 2 of the 27 islands are permanently inhabited, but it hasn't stopped the locals setting up their own outposts, which visitors are very welcome to use. So after a quick dip and a bevy or two at the South Island Bar, BYO naturally, it's back in the canoes, and when Kylie suggests a snorkel, who am I to say no? This is just one of the many gobsmackingly beautiful snorkelling spots on the Cocos. And once we've berthed our canoes, it's time to check out some of the underwater sights in the relative safety of our own little aquarium. But all good things must come to an end, even a day like this. Well, the tide is going out, and that means it's time for us to go home. I cannot believe that we've been out here for almost 5 hours. Kylie, you and Ash, you are wonderful hosts. Thank you so much. And while I'm thinking about it, Ash is actually the local marriage celebrant here on Cocos, and we just passed a beach that said I Do Beach, so I'm just putting it out there. If you need another reason to come to paradise, there it is. As I said, the tours can run any time from morning to late afternoon, depending on the tides. It's best to check in with the visitor centre when you come over, and you will come over, trust me. 50 metres from the beach is the most amazing boat I've ever been on. No, not that way. 50 metres that way. This is the Old Barge, built in 1970 by the Clooney's Ross family to collect coconuts from neighbouring islands. It's been recycled a number of times during its life, including time as an inter-island ferry. And today its cargo is the artistic treasure of the island. It was rescued by local woman Emma Washer, who has a bit of passion for recycling things from the ocean. So Emma, where was she when you found her?
Well, she was pretty hidden. You'd never see her. She was actually tucked down into the jungle at the north end of the island. So she was rolled up on coconut logs and left there, and we found her about 6 years later. We did it over 8 years. So that was the journey of the restoration and actually moving it here, because it's probably about a 12-tonne boat, so we had to work with those logistics as well.
I noticed that across from the gallery you've actually got an art studio.
I do, my favourite getaway. Yeah, I have lots of fun there. I get to work on my own projects, but I also enjoy sharing the space for workshops with locals and visitors to the island, so they can play with the materials we find here as well.
And before I can say Robinson Crusoe, I'm out collecting supplies with Emma to create a very cocos memento. So Emma, what's your fascination with all things flotsam?
Oh, I just think it's just the uniqueness of the materials, like where they've come from, just, environmentally, just getting them off the beach.
Is there anything in particular that you look for?
Yeah, I do. One of those right there, this is my favourite thing to work with, thongs.
Interesting choice. I was thinking shells, but obviously I am no artist. Back at the barge, the art room stores the treasures Emma has collected on her many beachcombing expeditions. They're all carefully colour-coded and ready to use. And the walls display beautiful, fresh artworks for inspiration. I'm still trying to figure out the thong bit though.
So you'll just be wanting to use, thongs obviously we're creating sort of ocean palette colours. So trying to find parts of the thongs that have nice textures. This one is involved getting squares to represent those colours in the water, and then we'll just be cutting them out.
Does it disturb you that there are so many thongs out there to use for your classes?
Yeah, it is quite disturbing, but it's nice to be able to do something with them and get them off the beaches.
With my skills, I'm thinking we may need the week, but who cares? I'm catching up on all the island gossip, and eventually I'll have a memento of my time here that is quite unique. If you're still here when the sun sets, and I may yet be, you're in luck, because Emma actually recycles the barge once more. She turns it into an outdoor movie theatre just as the sun is setting over that beautiful Indian Ocean. If you want to see the art, or the barge, or even make your own memento of your trip to Cocos, contact the Cocos Keeling Visitor Centre for details.
Explore West Australia's hidden gem, the Cocos Keeling Islands.
Cocos Keeling is one of those places where the earlier you get out of bed, the better. Sunrise is when most people are up and about going for their morning walk. It's also a great time to start your snorkelling day trip. Before you venture out, make sure you call into the visitor centre. These guys live and breathe Cocos, and they're full bottle on the best snorkelling spots. It's also the place to hire a mask and snorkel. So the word from the visitor centre is that you should start easy and work your way up to the bigger spots, which sounds very reasonable. And most of the snorkelling adventures here on Cocos start here. And this is beautiful Trannies Beach. It's calm, it is protected. Do bring some of these though, because there's a fair bit of rock around. So this spot is more about the ease of access and how protected it is. Straight off the beach, shallow, and a great place to practice your snorkelling technique. And more than enough marine life to keep everyone interested. Spot number 2 is accessible from the bottom of West Island by foot at low tide. A quick wade across to the next island and you're at the blue holes, which are quite literally big holes full of fish. The tide goes out, the fish get trapped. Aquarium. Location number 3 is accessible via a twice-weekly 30-minute ferry ride from West Island. Your $2.50 gets you a ride across this beautiful lagoon, which is the heart of the Cocos Keelings, and over to Direction Island and one of the wonders of the world, the Rip. It's a bit of a rocky entry, but oh my. That was the best drift dive or snorkel in this case I think I've ever been on. I can see why the visitor centre is so keen for you to try the calmer spots first, because the current that runs through that channel, it is pretty gnarly. Mind you, I'm prepared to go back and try it again for the team. Yep, as I thought the first time, out of this world. You know, in all my time snorkelling, I've never seen anything quite like this. The current is fast, but it's warm, and it carries you straight along the channel. And at the end of the ride, a few strokes, and you end up in this magnificent lagoon. You could genuinely do this all day, or at least until the last ferry home.
The remote and idyllic Cocos Keeling Islands are a dream destination in the Indian Ocean, a water sports utopia with year-round crystal clear warm water. Welcome to paradise.
For the ocean.
We're going diving on the Cocos Keeling Islands today, and this old girl, now she's seen a bit of action, she's seen a few dives. A bit like our dive master, but that's what I like, experience when we're going under the water.
Okay, if you've got experience, how about you get that gear up here on board for us?
Got it. Dieter Gerhard from Cocos Dive has a reputation as one of the safest dive masters in the Indian Ocean. He also likes to get everybody on board the boat to work as a team, so first test is launching the boat. Excellent. Dieter likes to get underway by 8:30, and there's no rushing this man of the islands until he pulls away from the West Island. Yep, can see why he wanted us to put our wetsuits on so early. Our faithful dive boat is what is known as a wet boat. And wet we are, which means when we see these guys, it's pretty easy to hop over and follow them. The dolphins were just a whet our appetite. For the main event, we need to gear up and over the side.
1, 2, 3, lift the knees. Beautiful.
First up, Dieter takes us to meet the locals. We're ignored by a turtle, but these guys are more than happy to come out en masse to say hello. This spot is called Cologne Gardens, and it's famed for its corals and abundance of fish life. The colours are a bit dark because it's pretty deep here. Check out how smart this coral is. In a sea of green and blue and brown, it makes its own phosphorescent red. Clownfish hide in the most elegant anemones. So how do you follow up a dive like that? Well, with lunch, of course, off to Direction Island, where it turns out our dive master is also a pretty good chef. Big cups of warm soup are a surprise, but once you put your hands around the mug after diving to such depths, a really welcome treat. While you're on the island, if you're feeling energetic, head for this spot, the Rip. It's not a dive, but a snorkel. The colours up here are a little brighter because there's more light penetrating close to the surface. Of course, if all you want to do is laze around and swim, you can do that too. Just make sure you're on the boat when it leaves out from Cozzy's Beach for dive spot number 2. Over the edge again, but a much different dive to before, with some old wrecks making some great hiding holes. Yep, wouldn't mess with her. Then it's time to glide over to the drop-off, and it does just drop off. Ever have a feeling you're being watched? These guys are just grey nurses and reef sharks, and you find them all over the place down here. You just need to sit and watch. Dieter is an amazing host, both above and under the water. While you're busy taking everything in, he is busy watching you. And when your time is up, it's back to the surface. Disappointment quelled by a massive pod of dolphins escorting us home to where the serious work begins. When you come to Cocos, you're going to love this dive. You're going to love this dive master. They really go out of their way to make you feel like part of the Cocos family, isn't it?
Our Cocos family, yes.
The Cocos.
We've signed you up, you're now part of the family.
I'm here.
The pristine, welcoming Cocos Keeling Islands are a safe, family-friendly destination in the Indian Ocean. Relax on empty beaches, explore uninhabited islands and unique cultures. Welcome to paradise.
ocean.
The waters surrounding the Cocos Keeling Islands are magnificent. There is so much marine life, it's like being in a giant fish tank. And one of the best things about Cocos is most of the time you feel like you've got this place all to yourself because there's only accommodation on the islands for 150 people at a time. Somehow these guys have managed to keep the big hotel chains at bay. Bravo! If you come with family or friends, there are some great houses to rent on West Island that can sleep from 2 to 8 people. And renting a house like Beachcombers is a great way to feel like one of the locals. Most come with bikes, snorkeling gear, fishing rods, even free Wi-Fi and paddleboards, making it a pretty economical way to holiday. There is some hotel-style accommodation, but think 3-star. That said, the rooms are comfy, they have cooking facilities, and all the accommodation here is within walking distance of the cafe and the club, and nearly all of them are right on the ocean front. If you're wanting a real budget holiday, Cocos has 3 campsites which are completely free. My favourite is here on Direction Island, which is also the site of Australia's best beach, Cozzie's. And finally, if you want to immerse yourself in the history of these islands, head to Oceania House on Home Island. This colonial mansion looks fit for landed gentry, and it was. Now a beautiful B&B, it was the original home for the Clooney's Ross family. No matter where you stay while you're here, our tip is to bring a pair of earplugs. It is not a criticism, it's just an observation of how close your head is going to be when you hit the pillow to all of that. I absolutely love getting out and exploring Western Australia, whether it's the beauty of the Fitzgerald River National Park, the rugged red landscapes of the Kimberley. There is certainly a place for everyone to enjoy. For me, I can't go past a tropical island getaway with palm trees, white sandy beaches and unbelievable marine life. Thankfully, WA offers up just that. It's the Cocos Keeling Islands. So I thought I'd share one of my favourite memories from my trip there in 2017. There are so many ways to get around the Cocos Keeling Islands. You could go by ferry, simple. If you've got a lot of energy and a spare 6 hours, you can actually walk around this entire coral atoll at low tide. You could paddle, still a bit too much energy, or you could go on a motorised canoe tour. My thoughts exactly. Like many activities on the islands, the time this tour starts is dependent on the tides. What we're going to see, well, that's dependent on the time of the day and the tides as well. So these adventures are just that. You never know exactly where you're going to end up, but tour owners and operators Kylie and Ash guarantee you'll have one heck of a lot of fun getting there. The canoes motor around the south end of the atoll where the water is fairly shallow, stopping along at a number of the 27 islands that make up the Cocos Keelings. First stop is breakfast. Glad to see they have their priorities right and the tour numbers suddenly explode.
They're hiding out in the bushes and under the pondock, and when the food comes out they've got an intent to smell, so they'll come and join us for breakfast.
And once everyone's had a feed, the crabs and Ash like to have a bit of fun. Pick your crab carefully, size counts in this race.
Okay, holiday makers, you are so lucky you're here for the 2017 running of the Cocos Cup. Racing on Cocos, they're off to a pretty good start. The big fella's going straight for the line. They're all over the track. It's anyone's race at this stage of the game. This is close to a race record. You have won a trip overseas.
So it's back into the warm waters of the Southern Lagoon for some more exploring. This atoll hasn't always been idyllic. In World War II, they were bombed on an almost weekly basis as they served as a strategic communications post for the Allies. Mind you, the further into our adventure we get, the more you start thinking they could have used Ash's dad jokes to fend off hostile attacks.
Okay, so as I say, 13.62 metres. It's a good thing we're here in the afternoon because all the ice caps have melted from the top of Cocos.
And Ash keeps up his running commentary, although it does take a serious turn.
So 1942, when our guys were stationed here, they had no cabbage bush, they had no coconut trees here, they had a clear 360-degree view of the islands. So if they saw an enemy ship coming, they'd hoist the flag up, they'd get the cannons ready for any intruders.
Today, only 2 of the 27 islands are permanently inhabited, but it hasn't stopped the locals setting up their own outposts, which visitors are very welcome to use. So after a quick dip and a bevy or two at the South Island Bar, BYO naturally, it's back in the canoes, and when Kylie suggests a snorkel, who am I to say no? This is just one of the many gobsmackingly beautiful snorkelling spots on the Cocos. And once we've berthed our canoes, it's time to check out some of the underwater sights in the relative safety of our own little aquarium. But all good things must come to an end, even a day like this. Well, the tide is going out and that means it's time for us to go home. I cannot believe that we've been out here for almost 5 hours. Kylie, you and Ash, you are wonderful hosts. Thank you so much. And while I'm thinking about it, Ash is actually the local marriage celebrant here on Cocos, and we just passed a beach that said, I do beach, so I'm just putting it out there. If you need another reason to come to paradise, there it is.
Australia. Whoever came up with this place deserves a real pat on the back. I mean, think about it. There are birds who can laugh, mammals who can sing, waterfalls that can fall both ways, and 126 different shops that all reckon they sell the world's best pie. There are walls that can tell stories, cities that start where the waves end, and there's a lot of nothing, which is actually really something. You've got rivers that can wash your worries away, bush that knows how to bounce back. I heard about places where you can fly, kayak or wade to lunch and get served a delicious beverage by a guy called Jeff. I mean, I don't know if that's his actual name, but gee, that sounds like a pretty incredible day. This is a place that took a look at the rulebook and said, Nah, here's a platypus. You know the most incredible thing of all? A holiday here this year is exactly what this place and all of us needs. So get out there for Australia.